Hey guys. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another night of My Life Has Destiny podcast, where I am one of your hosts, Quint Jones, and I got my sisters, one of us up here. Y'all, we got LHG in the house on tonight. I am so excited. And the other half of the trio will be up here a little bit later. My system is lagging, so guys, bear with me if I look like I'm moving real slow, or y'all might be able to see me okay, but right now I am lagging on the back end, but it's okay. So, with that being said, I want to thank everybody for rocking with us on tonight. Tonight, I think it's going to be really, really fun because we've been talking about dating over on Critical Conversations, and we've been
Yes.
talking about dating over here at some point in time. We were supposed to do a show, but you guys have not showed up for us as of yet. But being that we're talking about dating, I feel like we need to let the people know that we're worth the wait
Yes.
because everybody has their own standards, everybody has boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
But do the people recognize that they are worth the wait? So before we go into the topic on tonight, I want my sister to have a few words, and I pray that y'all had a blessed and prosperous day on today. I'm telling y'all, my weekend was great leading up till today. I had a fabulous weekend. It was
Yes.
wonderful. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited about what the Lord is doing. And
Yes.
I'm gonna let my sister. Ah! Look, I'm fighting a fly, y'all. It just hit me in the
Let me
eye. So
tell you something. That fly said he's worth the wait.
yes,
That fly says, honey, you was talking my language tonight. Don't you swat that fly.
yes, it
That
high
fly
fived me.
said, let me tell you, baby, that fly says I'm in tune to tonight's topic. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I am LHG, Latanya Harris Gooden, and I am happy to spend this time with my sisters. This is what we do. We enjoy each other, and I hope you got some good sisters and brothers too in your life, because sometimes and you need to have people in your corner who are genuine, who know God, who love you, and who are willing to have these types of open discussions where we can all get healed. Everybody is in a different place in terms of their spiritual journey, marital status, dating status, whatever it is. But the common denominator to me is we want to be healed. Wherever you are and whatever status you're in and you're standing up in right now, we want to be the best version of ourselves, and we want God to be in it, and we want to heal. And when I heard her tell me what the topic was going to be, it kind of falls in line with several of my posts that I've been posting lately about dating, because I am about to be back on the market. Do
Amen.
not feel sorry for me. Don't do it. You can pray for me, but don't feel sorry for me.
That's
Just pray
right.
for
That's
me,
right.
because this is hitting home. Because
Mhm.
part of the wait period is meaning I'm not going to operate in desperation. I'm going to allow God to do the complete work in me and make
Yes.
me a whole and complete individual, so I don't show up fragmented in any relationship, not just
Mhm.
romantic. I don't want to show up fragmented anywhere. So
Mhm.
this is on point, sis. This is on point. So that's my story. Thank you all for tuning in with us. This is going to be great. Share, tag, get your people in here.
Mhm.
It's time to have this discussion.
And look, you talked about healing. A lot of people don't understand that there is life after divorce. And
Ooh,
it should not take forever for you to get back to who you are or
my
who
God.
you were. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when you go through a divorce, you lose yourself. I'm still fighting with this fly and he's gonna lose. Okay. A lot of times when you go through a divorce, you lose yourself in the process.
Yeah.
or you have to reintroduce yourself because the people are
Ooh.
so used to you being one way or
Wow.
being such and such as mom or such and such as wife, and they forget you have your own name. They
Yes. Yeah.
forget that you
Yeah.
was an individual
Yeah.
before you got married, before you had the children.
Mhm.
They forget that, listen,
But we forget. Quit. We forget.
right, we forget too. I had a life before this, and I literally, it
Jesus.
took me almost losing my life
Oh
for
my
me
God.
to realize that, listen, I am purpose. I
Mm.
am destiny. My
Mm.
life has destiny.
Yes,
I
God.
can't go off of somebody else and what they think of me and how they feel about
Ooh,
me on or if they're going to help me. I have to trust God in the
Jesus.
process of my
Jesus.
healing stages.
Wow.
Listen, stress is nothing to play with.
Come
Stress
on now.
is more, it's not just stress, it brings about so many other things. It
Yeah.
brings
Yeah.
about the sicknesses,
Yeah.
it brings about um division, it
Yeah.
brings on so much stuff,
It
and
does.
we have to be able to say, listen, I am too blessed to be stressed. Yes, I'm going through this circumstance, but I'm not a byproduct of my situation.
Come on
God,
now.
God is healing me. I'm walking in my healing now. Speak
Yeah.
those things that be not as though they were until your body conforms
Come
to
on.
what God is saying, whether
Absolutely.
you believe it or not. Most of us, when we go through that divorce stage or a separation stage, we go through low self esteem.
Ooh.
For me, it says Facebook user. Who are you? For me, I told myself, because I had no self esteem
Mm-hmm.
after I left my first marriage. I told
Mm-hmm.
myself I will never allow another person to get me to the point where you can break me down to
Mm-hmm.
where I don't care about me.
Right.
Never. And that's getting to know who you are,
Right.
knowing your worth, knowing that you are loved,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that you are valuable. But you
Absolutely.
got to love you in order to teach somebody else how to love you.
Absolutely.
Hey
Absolutely.
Nikki, it's coming up at Facebook user baby. Um so that is so important. If you don't love you, how can you tell somebody else how to love you?
But then, how do you love who you don't know? If you
Exactly.
have, I made a post about a statement that a lady made, and it was an episode of Queen Sugar. I'm catching up on Queen Sugar, and the character had been a domestic violence victim, was in hiding, staying in a hotel, and was getting help from the water loans. And she
Mhm,
tried to make a sexual advance towards Aunt Vi's husband.
mhm.
And she said these words: I don't know who I am unless a man tells me. That thing slapped me in my face. I don't know who I am unless a man tells me. In
So
other
I
words,
have to be
I don't know how to
validated.
express myself without being sexual or being promiscuous. That's all I know that a woman can do. This sexual prowess.
Mhm,
It's way more to being feminine and being a woman than sexual advances. We are more than our sexual organs. We're more
that's
than
right.
our sexuality. We're
Mhm,
multi-layered, multi-dimensional, multifaceted individuals. Now, we
mhm,
have a sexuality as a part of us, but to tell
mhm.
someone that basically, I don't know who I am outside of pushing up on you and responding in kind. And that comes from a society or even a generational indoctrination that women are supposed to be pretty and let men look at you, let them touch you,
Mhm.
let them be pleased by you. That is your job. Shut up, sit there. When I want some, I should be able to get it. When I say speak, you talk.
Ooh,
And then the whole we start as
ooh.
kids. Okay, little Susie, All you got to do is look for your knight in shining armor. He's going to come and get you, put you on a horse, ride you out in the sunset. Y'all going to have a family, a boy, a girl, a dog, a cat, and a white house with a picket fence. That's what we are shown and taught in my generation, at least. Maybe it's different now, but that was the whole thing. Get married and have kids. That was the
Right.
extent of your purpose. Now, those are beautiful things. As a byproduct of being a woman, I can procreate. Thank you, Lord. I can marry a man. I want love it. Been there, done that. But there's so much more. And if you're in a relationship where you no longer can tell you from him, the two become one, it can be misconstrued. You're one in your union, in your relationship, in your marriage, but you don't become one social security number. You don't become one fingerprint. You are still a unique individual that happens to be married to or dating another person. If you're looking for someone to validate you and to tell you who you are and to tell you what you're worth, that is not going to happen. That's not even their job. That's a God thing. That's you and God partnering together. See, you know what? I am worthy of real love. Self-love first, self-awareness. And when you get so wrapped up in a relationship that you lose the fiber that makes you lose your sense of humor, you lose your wit and your the things that make you unique, it starts to get morphed into someone else. I don't believe that's God's will. I believe that there is a healthy way for each person to show up in that relationship as who they are, and they can come together and make a great team. But if I have to minimize, so it took my child to bring up to me that, Mama, you became somebody else because of him. That's not the mama I know. You're trying to keep the peace, but that's not Latanya.
Right.
And I don't think I should have to sacrifice who I am as an individual. I can make adjustments if I want to for me. Okay,
Yes.
let me be clear. I can make self adjustments for myself and enhancements for myself. But when you start to change your personality and start to digress and kind of curdle up in the corner to appease someone else, that's unhealthy. That's really, that can be fatal. I don't
Hey, church
want,
boy.
as my brother in the house, I
Yes.
want to be, first of all, whole. I need to be whole. Many of us are in relationships so broken that we're unrecognizable. Their trauma plus our trauma will land us in the hospital. It's
But
too much. It's too, and be willing to be by yourself to do the work.
I have to ask this question. If you need, if you to have someone to validate you in order for you to know who you are, it makes me wonder what happened to you in your life. Why
Yep.
do
Yes.
someone have to give you a label or tell you you're beautiful? Why can't you look in the
Yes.
mirror? Listen, when I get dressed in the morning, or even in my uniform, I look at myself and say, girl, you got it going on. Let me tell you something, because I'm never gonna get to the point where I need a man to say you are beautiful. I don't need that. When a man tell me that I am beautiful, guess what? I say, thank you. Already know. I don't get all giddy. I don't got to do that. And I'm not conceited. I'm confident in who I am now. And I'm confident because I know who I am. Because that's how the young girls get manipulated into the relationships. And I was one of them,
Me
because
too.
I didn't know me. So you
Mm.
get manipulated into a relationship because somebody tell you you're beautiful. No, I'm going to validate myself. I'm going to validate my children. I'm going to validate my grandchildren so they know, listen, you don't have to worry about what somebody else is saying to you, even if they talking negative to you. You don't have to
Mhm.
listen to those labels because
Right.
you're a king's kid. You are handsome. You are smart. You are
Mhm.
important. I'm going to tell you, just like I'm going to tell myself, because
Mhm.
I see me as God sees me. I'm not going to sit around and wait on them because a lot of men don't even know how to compliment a woman. Let's just be real about it.
That's
Because if
very
you
true.
come at me whistling, you come at me with your pants down, you come at me in a whatever negative manner, you just looking at my body, baby. You liable to get your feelings hurt.
But
Let's just
let's go down a timeline and talk to where these ideals come from. Go back to middle school, high
mm-hmm,
school.
mm-hmm,
When a young lady is overweight, such as I was, um, really middle school for sure, and in high school, and you are bullied, you are looked at as strange, or um, boys aren't looking at you because there's a certain type of girl that the boys want. They, let's just tell the truth, they wanted a lighter complexioned,
mm-hmm,
thin, long, natural long hair, cheerleader type. Okay. I was the total opposite. So then that child, that obese child, feels like no boys in the school want me. So guess who's going to go after her? The predators.
right.
The men who see these children as sex objects. So
Mm-hmm,
that's why at 14, my boyfriend was in his late 30s.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, because I felt nobody in the school wanted me. So here comes this man. So that's my biscuits. My biscuits popping girl. She's so silly. So,
deal with her.
so as an obese child, the idea of I'm ugly, I'm too fat, I'm too dark, those seeds are being planted. And if the parents are not there to reinforce that that child is beautiful, they say it's supposed to be your father that tells you
Mm-hmm,
that. So if you
mm-hmm,
come from a broken home and you don't have your father that tells you that, or you are in a home with a man that your mom's married to who sexually terrorizes you, where are you going to get that confidence from? Because
right.
everybody in school was hugged up.
Mm-hmm,
Everybody had a boyfriend. I'm
right.
talking 80s now, 80s and 90s. Everybody got somebody, but those who look like me. So you have this not low self-esteem,
Mm-hmm,
no self-esteem, which makes you vulnerable
right.
to other people, other grown men who can smell the vulnerability that prey on young girls. And we end up getting involved in relationships so early, but we haven't even completed a childhood. Now
Exactly.
we're thrust into an adult situation. At 14, I shouldn't have had, to me, that's too young to have a boyfriend. That's just my opinion.
It's
I
true.
think that I know in this year they on their third boyfriends. But for
Mhm,
me, at 14, you should be having fun with your friends, having sleepovers. You might be
mhm,
giddy and giggling about having a little crush. But a
mhm,
whole relationship at 14, that's the problem. Our children are getting involved in adult situations so young and getting
mhm,
heartbroken so young. And we're taking that into our adulthood and we're not growing up. We are growing in age.
mhm,
We're not maturing. We got thrust into it too soon. Nobody is sitting the young girls down and say, listen, I'm gonna tell you now. Some of them gonna say this, they're gonna look at you for that, they're gonna want to touch this, touch that. You don't have to
mhm,
succumb to that, be strong. You parents, the parenting has to be that safe space,
mhm.
especially for a child like me that didn't fit into any group other than the nerds and the big girls.
Right,
I was
right.
in I was the outcast. So
Mhm,
that spirit that comes upon a young person, that no self-esteem, that insecurity, that inferiority,
Mhm.
latches itself onto a child and they take that into their adult relationships if it's not dealt with.
Right.
We got to
And that's
curse at the root.
so true. So true. When I came up in school, there was older guys praying around the
Yeah,
schools.
yeah,
I was a tomboy. Listen, don't touch me because the young boys, they have problems with touchy feely hands.
yeah.
So I would often get into an altercation with the guy.
Wow.
To this day, like when I go back home, I may see one of them from childhood and they'd be like, "You used to beat us up." What? I don't even know who you are. Like, for
Wow.
real? Like, and it was just that bad because don't touch me. I
Mm-mm,
don't want you to touch me.
mm-mm,
We
mm-mm,
not cool like that.
mm-mm.
And you right. Having a boyfriend at 14, I should have never. But I did.
Me too.
And it wasn't okay. And
Hmm.
then he couldn't handle a relationship either because when we ended up breaking up after all that I had gone through,
Hmm.
he wanted to unalive himself. So
Wow.
when he went and tried to, I ended up calling his grandmother and calling the ambulance because
Hmm.
no, that's not going to be on me. And the sad part of that, because I was who I was, it
Hmm.
was just like, don't talk to me no more. I can't even believe you did this. Like,
Wow.
it was no type of sympathy, empathy, nothing. It just didn't. It was like, okay, you okay? Go about your business. And in my adult life, I literally had to apologize to that man
Wow.
because I realized he didn't know what I went through
Hmm.
and he didn't deserve the treatment that he got.
Okay.
And
Okay.
neither one of us should have been in a relationship.
See? Come on.
We shouldn't.
Come on.
But
Wow.
that's once again, as you get older, when you're a child, you don't got control over what happens, what goes
No.
on. That's up to
No.
your parents to make sure you're safe, to take care of you, to do what they're supposed to do by you. When you are out of here and in the ground, you can't do anything about that. God has that final say. But anything else in between, baby, you are responsible to get to know who you are, to
Hmm.
love on you, to
Hmm.
show people how to treat you. Stop
Yeah.
taking on everybody else's attributes.
Yeah.
How, why? Look,
Yeah.
we get to the point where, and I say this often, and I actually did a drill one time in one of my conferences where I had a bunch of mirrors, and I said, everybody look in the mirror and tell me what you see. Because a lot of us in this day and age will walk past the mirror because we don't like what we see.
Ooh,
But when you can
my
do a
God.
evaluation and you can look in a mirror and truly say what you see, what's inside of
Mhm.
you, what needs to come out, what you don't like about you, what you want God to remove. Listen, and
Mhm.
you have to look at, because on the other end of that mirror, what do you see? It's you.
Mhm.
You have to pay attention because you're
Yeah.
talking to you.
Right.
Jessica Reedy made a song called Mirror. So, and she
Mhm.
says sometimes you got to make the mirror your best friend.
Wow. That's deep.
Stop looking at everybody else. Stop
Mm.
looking at what people called you. You don't
Mm.
have to receive everything in your ear. I say that a lot. Sometimes you need to sit down, take yourself out to dinner and look at
Yes.
the
Take
menu
yourself.
and pick for yourself. What do
Mm.
I like on this menu? Do I like my eggs fried? Do I like them scrambled? Do I like poached eggs? I don't know because guess what I did? Whatever he liked, I liked. So I never had a choice. So now I got to get back to me. I got
Mhm.
I got to realize, look, I don't even really like eggs. They burn my stomach. They don't sit well. I have to be in the mood. Okay, wait a minute. Maybe I need an omelet. Let throw some spinach and some cheese up in there. I need to get a little bit bougie up in here. Listen,
Mhm,
you gotta
mhm.
figure out who you are. You
Right.
gotta figure out what you possess and what you're gonna tolerate. Do
Mhm,
you know? Look,
mhm.
let's be
That's
real.
right.
We're adults here. When you go to lay down with a person, do you really like that position that you in?
All right. Hey,
Or are you just conforming to what they told you to do
see, that's good.
or how they told you to do it? Don't put
That's
me in
right.
no pretzel. I'm old. My legs hurt.
First,
No.
look, somebody's leg gonna come right off. Can you hand me my leg? My leg came off.
Can you, can you put that leg down for a
Lord, can you get
second?
my leg off the floor?
You
Cause
didn't tell
this
me.
ain't comfortable. This
You
ain't
didn't tell
comfortable.
me we had to do some
Mm-mm.
acrobatic stuff. I'm not
And you wonder why we got flatulence? Cause my
right.
body ain't meant to be twisted like that. My body wasn't meant for that, honey. Honey,
I'm
You
not
tell me.
flexible. I don't do splits. You should have told me to
Mm-mm,
stretch first. No.
mm-mm, mm-mm. Take me to the gym
Listen,
first and get me loosened
right,
up.
right.
Mm-mm.
Because everybody is not waiting. So
That's
let's
right.
be real about that. But I'm
But
worth
one
the
thing
wait.
about the mirror, though, when you said something about the mirror, that's one thing that I have always avoided over my life. I just started being able to look in the mirror again. One of my sisters, Ko Shonda, who's been on my show several times, she's my self-love guru, and one of her books had these activities, and one of them was to just stand there and look at yourself with
Mhm.
nothing on
That's right.
and force yourself to take in what you see. And I think what happens if you avoid those mirror moments, and when
Hmm.
people tell you, "Oh, you're so beautiful," "Oh, you're going to attach yourself to what they say because
Exactly.
you don't feel that on your own. And that's how that older person was able to convince a 14-year-old that dating him was okay, because he
Hmm.
started out with, "I think you're pretty." The very thing the other boys said the opposite of. He came right with it. "You're pretty, you're smart, I love your black skin.
Hmm.
You don't need those little boys. I'm going to help you become a woman." He
Right.
intrigued me enough to pull me right on in. And I should have known at 14 that it could not be right to be talking to him, but he said so many other things that I felt I needed to hear.
Hmm.
I was willing to sacrifice getting in trouble because he was feeding that for me. It was. That's the net. You know what? Put that comment up there.
There goes Sinette.
He is cutting up. He is cutting up. No, I don't do pretzels. I wasn't even doing pretzels at 25 and I'm on 50. I'm telling you right now, at almost 50 years old, when the Lord does give me somebody after this process, we're gonna have to sit down and have a discussion.
Right.
Look, you need to tune up and the oil change before you start pretzeling me up. You gotta
I
take me to
know
the
that's
shop.
right.
I got to go to the shop, honey. But you make a good point though. In relationships and maybe even in marriages, if you have someone who says this is how this has to be, and you
Mhm.
just conform to it, it was never comfortable for you, but to appease them and to keep them happy, you sacrifice being in pain or being embarrassed or whatever it was. But when you're
Mhm.
in a relationship, especially in a marriage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice what you like for
That's
someone
right.
else. It should
That's
be what you both enjoy. WD-40s and that's it. That's too much. WD-40s and that.
right.
But these are the signs when you are taking a back seat in everything and letting the other person take the front seat, and you're constantly retreating, going back further and further to where you're like in the shadows. That's
Mhm.
healthy. I am a naturally outgoing, outspoken individual.
Mhm. Mhm.
However, because of what I was dealing with in this relationship, I found myself not saying what I wanted to say because that person couldn't handle me in that way. And they
Mhm.
took everything I said the wrong way. And it made me want to just shut up. That's not healthy.
Right.
You may communicate naturally, and the
Mhm.
right person is going to appreciate style of communication. What you got to say, honey? What's your take on this? And they're not going to have a problem with me disagreeing with them.
That's right. That's right.
That's
And I've been there.
I learned that disagreement doesn't mean rejection. It just
Mhm.
means that in my brain, I process that differently, and we can compromise on some things, but some things I'm looking at from my experience, and we ought to be able to have a common ground. But when
Mhm.
someone expects you to only see the world the way they see it, that's a problem.
Mhm.
We are not the same person.
That's right.
We're two totally different people from different backgrounds. We've had different jobs, different families. So we ought to be able to bring all of who we are together
Mhm.
and create a good life together.
Right.
And
Definite.
when you start to retreat and you start to become convinced that no, their way or the highway, then maybe the highway is not a bad place.
I know that's right. You need to say that for the people in the back. Cause
Oh,
listen, let me tell you something. I've been there. And that's where, you know, they look at you as long as you are silent,
yeah,
you're people pleasing and they're okay
yeah,
with that
yeah,
because now they get their way. But as
yeah.
soon as you open your mouth and say, well, I don't agree with this, this is wrong, this is it. Listen, now we have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, hey Fred, now it's like, oh, you should have remained silent. No, because
No,
I see you compromising
no.
because you know that what you're doing is wrong and it's okay for some but not for others.
Mhm.
It's okay for you to belittle somebody and you expect
Ooh.
us to keep our mouth shut. It's okay for you to step
Right.
on me like I'm nothing and expect me to keep my mouth shut. No, that's
Oh,
not okay. And I'm not going to continue to keep my mouth shut. I kept my mouth shut out of respect of not wanting to disrespect you and not wanting to tell you where I really want you to go.
right,
Why I
right.
kept my mouth shut. My silence was golden, but you didn't take heed. You took my kindness for weakness. But baby,
Yeah.
what I'm not is weak.
Come
So
on,
when I
come
open
on.
my mouth, now you have a problem.
And then when you got someone that keeps pushing and probing, and then when you get the response you've been egging at,
Exactly.
oh, well, you kept messing with me. I asked you to
Mhm.
just back
You
up off
said
of
to
me.
me.
You kept pushing, you kept instigating. Like in
Mhm.
school, we used to have them instigators. You gonna take her talking about you. She
Knock
said
that
something
off my
about your
shoulder.
mama. If I was you, I would. Them instigators.
Right.
Okay. Yes. You keep on poking the hibernating bear.
Mhm.
You keep on starting stuff. Next
Mhm.
thing you know, you get an emotional response. Now you looking crazy.
Mhm.
And be careful of people like to show things to the public a certain way, but in
Yeah.
private it's different.
Oh Lord.
You want consistency.
Mhm.
In public, they're, oh, I just love them. Oh, they're just everything. But in
Mhm.
private, they're saying things to you that are on the contrary of what they're saying to the public. That's why I
Mhm.
don't care about likes and shares and comments. What is this thing when it's just me and you? What
That
is
part.
this thing when it's just us? I don't
Mhm.
care about what people are seeing or think they're seeing, or I don't care about that. Beware of people who are so hung up on the appearance of a thing.
Mhm.
They're not willing to do the work to maintain a thing. No,
Right.
no. That's multiple personality disorder, in my
Mhm.
opinion. You two different ways. You
Mm.
one way outside and you one way inside. No. Be
Mhm.
careful. Mental illness is real.
It is. It really
And it's
is.
not just people walking around talking to themselves. There are functional people who keep jobs. You
Mhm.
can hold a whole conversation who are operating in a realm of mental illness.
Mhm. So true. And
Stop ignoring it.
you know that front is so real. Cause my ex-husband and I, the first one, we would walk in the park and people would be like, I just love to see young love.
We
We
had
hold
that too.
hands. That mask was so phony because baby, it
Mhm.
wasn't no love there. It
Mm.
was so much disrespect and so much hurt and so much
Yeah,
brokenness. And you
yeah.
talking about love? What are you really looking at? The outer appearance? And
Mm.
then you verbally abusing me? Come on now.
Ooh, I can
That
relate to
verbal and emotional abuse is real.
it. It is real.
And Sanette, like you
Manipulation,
said, don't
deceit,
poke the
all
bear.
that. Mhm.
Yes, and then the lies and the manipulation. Don't
Yeah.
poke the bear, baby. He poked me one day. I was pregnant. I
Mm.
listen. You mushed my head. I jumped out my
Jesus.
moving car and it was on. Okay.
Girl, you
Poke
on my
the
street. Lord have mercy.
on because it's just not okay.
But you
When
can
you
only take so much though, sis.
exactly, exactly. And then you realize, okay, like I told y'all in my past, um, when my relationship, my first marriage, when it broke up, the spiritual part broke up too. And you
Okay.
know, in my mindset, I backslid. But
Mm.
when I think about it today, no, I lost fellowship with the church
Wow.
because of the compromise, because
Okay.
of, there was no one there until the Lord sent me to one Pastor Johnny Garner and his wife. And when I say they covered me for a
Mm.
whole year, they covered me. And that
Mm.
family that I had to leave was
My
still
God.
calling them trying to get information, but they covered me.
Jesus.
God always has a ram in the bush. If you
Oh
got
yeah.
a relationship and
Come,
you recognize who you are when you get to know him, because I was a babe in Christ. And
Jesus.
when I got older and I started seeking him for myself, listen,
Mm.
when you get that word for yourself and build that
Yeah.
relationship with, for yourself, and you have your own encounter with him, that's the best
Yeah.
relationship in the world. And he
It
started
is.
sending people my
It is.
way to minister to me, and he started sending people my way just to say, baby, it's gonna be okay. When
Mhm.
you leave here, you may not know where you going, but it's gonna be okay. And I
Wow.
was like, okay, it's time. It's time for me to get to know me. And I sat
Yeah.
in that church and he said, step out on faith. I said, yes, Lord. Yes,
Mm.
Lord. Threw up my hands because that was my confirmation that it was time to go. I done already went through my uterus collapsing. I done already end
Mhm.
up in the hospital. I done already didn't
Mhm.
know what was gonna take place or who was gonna take
Mhm.
care of me while I healed. But the Lord turned it around long
Mm.
for me to heal. And then that man started
Mhm.
acting a fool again, and it was time for me to go and step out on faith. The Lord was already keeping me. So know
My
your
God.
worth. Know that you are worth the wait. We what you say, Fred? Sometimes we may compromise for foolish reasons. You are so right. But my
We
compromise
do. We do.
was to keep my family together. But I didn't know
Mm.
all the stuff that was going on. I got married at 22. I was a baby.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that the man that I thought I was in love with, but like I said before, we was having problems before the marriage. But the
Wow.
pastor instructed me, whom was my mother-in-law, get
Mhm.
in the prayer line. Pray for that man to marry you.
My
So,
God.
and then she on him. Y'all had a baby. You need to get married. So you pressured this man, and I didn't even know if this was what I wanted. It was projected. I
Woo-wee.
literally in that prayer line every week for this man,
Jesus. Jesus.
not realizing what was going on. Yes, I'm a good woman. I was taught, but this wasn't for me.
Mm.
It wasn't for me. But I don't regret what I had to walk through
Mhm.
because I realize my worth now. I
Mhm.
realize I'm valuable now. I realize that my hurt, my brokenness, my depression, my low self esteem, it birthed ministry inside of me.
My God.
My ministry was birthed out of pain.
Mm.
And that's why I became an advocate for domestic violence. That's why I wanted to help victims to come out. I didn't even know I was in it.
Wow.
And the Lord said, you can't live a double standard.
Hmm.
I had
Wow.
to school. I had to study. What?
Wow.
He ain't hitting
Let's
me.
go back to those compromises for foolish reasons. A lot of times, the compromises come in when you're operating in an area of desperation, and this is part of my story. When you feel as though, okay, my biological clock has reached a certain place, here I am. People start looking at you a certain way when you're single at 40 in the church. They
Mm-hmm.
start side eyeing you. Why aren't you married yet? What's wrong with you? What you doing? And they start making you feel a certain way, asking you these crazy questions, and then your standards start to change. And
Mm-hmm.
then everybody who's a saved man isn't meant to be your husband.
Exactly.
And then you got to define what saved really look like to some people.
Oh, Lord.
I've learned that people can be brought up in a church, grow up in a church, can shout the carpet down to the basement, but really have no real relationship with the
No.
Lord. But you are going to marry them, putting them in a place to cover you when their umbrella got a huge hole in it.
Not the
Ah,
hole in the umbrella. So
the
you still getting
umbrella
wet.
got a huge hole. Everybody who goes to church doesn't have a relationship one on one, as Coco say, that skin on skin. That
Mm-hmm.
one on everybody don't have that. They
That's right.
can look like they have it. They
Mm-hmm.
show up. They there now. When it comes to attendance, front row,
Front row.
shouting, shouting, screaming, running, and dancing. But the fruit is your life. The fruit is how you respond in certain situations, not just your church or co-attendance. I ain't worried about you going every single Sunday, but if
Mm-hmm.
you can bust it wide open, and but you didn't set up in church every Sunday, but you out here acting a total fool. What's
Mm-hmm.
happening? And many people are not even they're not even in control of their own lives. But you
That's true.
want to put them into a place of covering. They covering what? They can't even cover themselves.
That's true.
We are not maturing. All of us we're growing older. Our age is going up one notch every year. But in terms of our level of maturity, many of us are stuck.
Mm.
Why? A lot of it has to do with trauma.
Right.
Trauma is an eroder. It erodes your standards. It erodes your adult learning.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you go to get your nails soaked off and they put you in an acetone that
Mm-hmm.
takes your nails off. Trauma
Mm-hmm.
does that to the human brain.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think straight when you've been traumatized and you haven't addressed it, when you've got mama issues, daddy issues, and you take those issues into a marriage and you think that that person being married to you is going to solve it. That's a lie from the very pit of hell.
Right.
Do the work, do the individual work. I'm talking to myself now. Do the individual work by yourself. Be willing to be by yourself to
Mm-hmm.
do the work to be whole. Another human being should not complete you. I don't want to show up fragmented thinking he's going to be my missing piece.
Right.
I
And
don't like.
Sinette, you said families need to have hard talk.
Yes.
That is so true. But a lot of families are going through trauma too.
Oh, deep,
Because
deep, deep.
look at what I grew up in when
Jesus.
I came up. There was nothing but domestic violence.
Wow.
So I always said I didn't want to be a byproduct of my situation. I didn't want
Wow.
my children to live like that. But
Wow.
what ended up happening? The same thing. So my mother, although I was going through my situation, her mentality was, y'all got two separate houses. Y'all paying rent for nothing. Go ahead, move in with him.
Wow.
So I got that. And then I have the church like, uh, no, y'all need to be married. But what if I got one thing on one end and one thing another thing on another end, and we
Mhm,
already in sin, what am
mhm.
I gonna yield towards?
Wow. They love telling people to get married. You got to
That
get
part,
married. You got to be married. I
that
know
part.
folks now that was told you got to get married, and they just as miserable. Do you even think that these two people should get married? It's because you have a child or you
Hmm.
have a moment. You just gonna push them into a whole marriage.
Right,
Mm-mm.
right, and
We
that's
got
what
to
it
do better.
was.
We got to
And
do better.
even when I was going through, he, my husband had yelled at his mother.
Mm.
I mean, to the top of his lungs. And she said, "You hear how he talking to me?" And I said, "He talked to me like that all the time." She
Jesus.
said, "But you his wife." And I
Wow.
said, "So that make it right?"
Come
It
on
does
now.
not make it right. You
That
might
is a
not be
twisted
healed from
mentality.
your abuse because you've been
Ooh,
abused all this time. So your relationship is that of abuse. It's
toxic,
not okay. And an abused
toxic.
person will abuse another person. That is
Jesus,
not okay.
it is not. And it shouldn't be considered normal. It should not be considered normalized in
Exactly.
a relationship. If he's yelling, and I, man, that's I can relate. If a person is yelling to the top of their lungs, that is not normal
It's
adult
not.
behavior. We ought to be able to have a conversation, even if there is a disagreement or a conflict. If two people cannot say, well, let's talk this through or table it for a moment, wake up tomorrow and bring it back up, all that hollering and acting crazy, that is
Hmm.
not normal, y'all. Stop staying with people who act like that.
Exactly.
It took me too long to let this thing go.
Exactly.
Push boy, listen,
And
it's
that's
not
true.
for everybody. That is so true. It is not for everybody who think they just need to be married. Oh,
Hmm.
I'm praying for a wife. Oh, I'm praying for a husband. It's not for everyone. And it may not be for everyone right now. You may be in a place where you desire to be in a marriage, but it could be that it's not time for you to be in it right now because
Hmm.
there's some work that God needs to do in you as a single person.
Hmm.
I did not allow God to complete that work. I thought I could do the rest on the job training.
Hmm.
That's what I thought.
Hmm.
Well, I got some skills. The rest, I'll just learn on the job. I just
Right.
learn in the marriage. Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Right.
And some things that we see as red flags, we feel as women, oh, I can handle that. I can change him. I could help him overcome that. And in some cases, maybe, but there are some things God allows you to see so you can run,
Right.
so
And
you can take flight.
mhm. And you know, church boy, another thing is the Bible tells you, "He who findeth a wife findeth a good thing." If a woman don't know that she's a wife before she's married, she's not ready for marriage because she don't know who she is. So if she thinks, okay, well, once I get him, I'll start cleaning, I'll start cooking, I'll start trying to find a job, I'll start doing for myself, no, you're supposed to be doing all of that before the husband finds you because that's who you are. So you're supposed to bring something to the table. He shouldn't have to come and try to pick you up and try to get your house in order and get your kids in order. No. What man
Mhm.
is going to deal with a bunch of unruly children?
Who come on in
What
here?
man is going
Come
to
on.
deal with a nasty house? But yet and still, hey, Avery, but yet and
Speak
still,
it.
your body is so-called clean, but it's smelling like the residue of your house.
Come on.
Who is dealing with that? But
My
you
God.
saying, I want a husband. No,
Jesus.
baby. You're not gonna get
My
a husband because you're not ready for a husband. You don't
wow.
realize that you're a wife. Hey, Troy.
Wow.
You don't understand what it is to be a wife before your
Mhm.
husband finds you. So
Right.
how can you say this is what I want? This may be your desire, but I would say pray
Yeah.
and ask God to show you how to be a wife. Because if
Right.
you can't support yourself, how can you support that man? If you don't love
Absolutely.
yourself, how do you love that man? If you
Right.
can't cook for yourself, how can you cook for that man? Y'all know the saying: the key to a man's husband is the key to a man's heart is his stomach, right?
Mhm. That's right. That's
Okay,
what they
so
say.
if you can't cook, and don't get me wrong, because y'all know y'all hear me say all the time, I don't cook. I prefer to eat out, but I can cook. That is the difference. I am able to cook and I don't mind cooking, but you're not going to find a nasty how you got to walk over everything to get up in here. I'm not
Wow.
doing that. I'm not doing
Wow.
that. Like
And I
like
guess we should wanna have our house together for ourselves first. If
exactly.
that's not your strong suit, and I'm not, squeaky clean, I've gotten better over the years. If that's not your strong suit, and maybe you ought to take the time to say, "You know what? I wanna get better organized. I wanna get my finances in order. I wanna finish school. I wanna do some things first and feel content in myself before I go attaching myself to somebody else." It's okay to do that. Hi, Avery. My son is in here. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to say, I am working on me
Mm-hmm.
and do that because when you are in a dating situation and someone comes to your home and they find it in a hurricane-ish condition, that does say something about you. It
Mm-hmm.
does. It does. And I'm just gonna go on a limb and say this. I done been to a few homes in my life.
Oh Lord.
Man wasn't perfect. But many of us are living in hurricane conditions with our husbands,
Mm-hmm. That's true.
and that's contributing to a lot of your problems.
Mm-hmm.
You can't find nothing. You can't find each other. Too much going on. You done
Got
lost.
lost.
You done lost the month under a pile of clothes. Lord
And
have
both of
mercy.
y'all smelling like the residue.
Ooh,
Because
that goes into
once again,
preparing.
let's
Mhm,
think about this. Although the woman is the weaker vessel, the
mhm,
man is the head of his household. So if he says or if he leads, and I'm not saying he ought to clean up but get your house in order. Make sure things are in order so that they would line up correctly. How can you
mhm.
charity begins at home and then it spreads abroad? And I don't even know why we on here, but your home is your first ministry.
Come
So
on,
if
first
you're not
ministry.
taking care of home, how can you go and take care of the church? Home all out of order. There's nothing but chaos. But you running to the church to clean it.
Mm.
Help me
Ooh, that's
understand
good.
where the order is in that.
That's good. That's
I'm
good.
I'm just trying to understand. If you say you want a husband, and every time the pastor call, you drop something, and your husband at home sick,
Ooh, wee.
where in that
Baby, you in
that's
there now.
not
You in there.
biblical? Or your husband in the hospital, and you sitting on your seat to do nothing, won't get up to go check on him, but you on the phone with your friends. Please help me understand where the wife is in that.
And that could go on both sides of the spectrum.
Exactly.
I've,
But I can
I've
only speak for a
experienced
woman.
I've experienced that, being sick, but this person is gone, gotta be gone. I've been there. I that's serious. And it hurts. It's hurtful too.
Mhm. It is.
It's hurtful.
It's very hurtful. But like I was saying, when I had to have my surgery, it was an emergency surgery. My
Mm,
uterus literally collapsed. So I had to have
mm,
a hysterectomy done.
okay.
And I
Okay.
said, I'm not doing it. And it was like
Mm,
that, or you're not going to be here. I'm not doing it. Who is going to take care of me? Who's going to take care of my children?
okay.
That was my mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had to get to the point where, Lord, I trust you, because
Mm,
if you kept me this far, you're going to keep me, and someone is going to be able to help me.
right.
And the Lord turned that man's mindset around for that amount of time. When that 6 weeks was up, and when I say I weaned myself off the medication, I look, I was like, I'm not gonna be down like this. I gotta do what I gotta do.
Mm.
When that 6 weeks was up, he started acting a whole fool again. We got a comment. The women of today love the title wife, but hate the responsibility for the work wife.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
Hmm. What you say to that, LHG?
Well, I think there's some truth to that. Some women obsess. I used to be that woman that obsessed over wanting to be someone's wife, and it wasn't about a title per se. It was about a connection. I wanted to belong to someone. I wanted someone to claim me. I wanted someone to love me enough to always have my best interest in mind, whether we're in the same room or across, you know, states or across the country from each other. So, because I was taught that that is what a woman is supposed to desire, but I also in my heart and in my spirit knew I was going to be someone's wife. But I'm not afraid of the responsibility of that. I know what the word says about being a wife, but I also know that there is work to do on both sides. Each of
Mhm.
us, the husband and the wife, have some responsibilities. Um, yeah, there are women who literally just want to have that title. It's
Mhm.
like, I miss this. But are you doing the work to help maintain that marriage? What are you doing? It's
Exactly.
work to be done on both sides.
Both parts.
Yes.
I see y'all just chose to go there tonight, huh?
Hey.
Hey, Coco. Listen,
Hey.
I don't even know why we here, but we here. So we're gonna let the Lord lead us.
But
But
what
what
I
you
want to ask Troy is, what does he feel the responsibility of a wife is in his viewpoint? I mean,
ooh,
are we talking the gender roles, the cooking, cleaning, kitchen and bedroom? I would like to see Mr. Troy expound on what he feels those responsibilities look like.
So while y'all wait for him to respond, I got a few things to say because I was listening real good.
okay.
So for me, just piggybacking off of some of the stuff that LHG said, where she said that about the person being saved, but that don't mean anything, which is true because being saved and being holy is two totally different things.
Yes, it is.
That is
When
true.
it comes down to church and religion. You got a lot of people that say they saved, but they're not saved. They are religious.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And so there is no holiness because you got this thing where you was brought up in the church. You go to
Yeah.
the church every time the door is open
Every
because that's
time.
what you know how to do. But the spirit of the Lord is not does not dwell in you.
Come on
So
now.
there's a difference. And then, one of the things that LSG said that I also like is where she said that, you don't have to lose yourself um, in your mate, and you don't because your mate does not complete you. You should
That's
be already completed when y'all come together.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
That's just an addition. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? It's just an addition. And in response to what Troy said, yeah, you do have some people that do seek after the term wife, but the problem is they seek after that because they never saw it in their own house when they
That's
came up. And then at the same time, for some men, to them, the term of a wife is a living maid.
yes.
It's not really a wife.
The kitchen and the
And
bed.
to right, you know what I'm saying? And so, there's a difference in what you see. Not only does the Bible say that a man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing, but the next thing it says is that he obtaineth favor.
Favor. Mm-hmm.
And so, am I saying that that man don't have favor until the wife come along?
Mm.
If you go by what the word says, his true favor doesn't come along until he finds her.
Exactly.
And so at the end of the day, some of us women have chose to take it upon ourselves to
Mhm.
try to make sure that we could be on the radar to be found.
True. Absolutely true.
You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
it's different for everybody. Like I grew up where my mom was not married. She
Okay.
was not with another man after my father. And
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
so I literally watched my mother live a celibate life. She was did not have no boyfriend. If a man came to the house, he sat in her living room with her. He did not
Okay.
go no further
Okay.
than the
All
living
right.
room. And she made sure that was not something that we were gonna see. And so I grew up with knowing how to keep yourself. Just
Mm.
because a man tell you pretty,
Come
that
on.
don't mean you open your legs for him.
Come
Right.
on.
And I came up with that. Why? I'm a PK. My mother was a minister and a
Mhm.
prophet. So at the end of the day, I already knew what it was gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so, like at some point, she was just like, when you become a wife, you have to learn how to not only do for you, but now you are doing for somebody else. And when
Yes.
you do for him, you do for him with a spirit of excellence. Why? Because
Yes.
now you are his bridegroom.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You are his most prized possession.
That's
Mm-hmm.
good. That's
And
good.
that's how my mom explained it. Even though she
Okay.
had never been married, she explained it to me in a manner where she's like, yes, when you get married, you are going to be his prize possession.
Mm. Yes.
Mm.
You know what I'm
So
saying? He'll put you above everything. And so at the end of the day, it's a
I
lot of
know
people that
you.
don't understand that
Yes.
I value my spouse, he values me.
Mhm. That's important, Coco. Valuing each other. That's so
absolutely.
critical. That's what's missing in a lot of situations. It's more of a taking advantage of, like, you supposed to do. You do. And then there's no reciprocity.
And
And that's
Ellie,
where it
go ahead.
becomes a struggle.
And Troy said, just
It's
be
a struggle.
supportive. He
I
said,
like
just
his
be supportive
response.
in order for a man to be strong. His spouse needs to be powerful and just supportive. Let him know he's loved, he's supported, and he's called a king. Show him, especially if you're being
Love it.
showed you are his queen.
I
Look
agree.
into
That's good, Mr. Davis. I love that. And I do feel as though there is a population of women who are not supportive and who are more in competition with him than
Right.
his support. It's like it's you against me versus you and I for each other under God. So when you have that kind of an antagonistic, energy going on, then
Mhm.
you have a lopsided relationship.
Ex
But you said something very important in your last comment, especially if she's being shown she's his queen, she definitely needs to come on with the support and show him that he's a king. Now, if he's out here not doing that, not caring for her, not providing for her, taking advantage for her, the whole James Evans kitchen in the bedroom syndrome, you
Mhm.
got a problem. And it's a
Right.
few all out there.
Mhm.
It's a delicate balance. You should be able to enjoy each other and
Absolutely.
find ways to make each other happy and find ways to make life easier on each other.
Mhm.
That's
So
what
true.
can be missing when a woman comes in. I'll put myself on the line here. I am the daughter of a very strong, opinionated, independent mama. Mama told me while she was married, make sure he know you don't need him.
Mm.
Okay? I'm just
Mm.
I'm telling
Mm.
you how it was told to me.
Mhm.
Make sure you always have your own. Make sure he knows he can't, control you. Basically, he's an ornament.
Wow.
So if a husband is getting the energy from his wife that he's not really, I don't really need you, just so you know. Thank you for being here, but really I was good. That's
True.
you got to be careful with that. And I'm not saying I wasn't good prior to marriage, but I desired to be
Mhm.
a wife. That's what I wanted in my heart. It
Mhm.
did my heart well to do things for my husband. I loved to see him smile. It was
Mhm.
no second thought. But what I did fall prey to in the earlier stages of marriage was I didn't like that he tried to say, yeah, I have to make sure Tanya have gas in her car. I took it as you making me seem like I'm some damsel in distress. No, really, what he was saying is his love language is he likes to feel needed.
Mhm.
I didn't take it like that. Cause my mama told me, put your own gas in that car. I'm being honest.
Look,
So
he can put the gas in my car.
I'm just saying, when you at home with your mama and she's saying
Right.
stuff to you and getting married, you sometimes become a miniature version of her if you're
Right.
not careful. My
Mhm.
mother and my stepfather, rest his soul, was a very calm natured, kind of quiet in the shadows, not overbearing, not overly aggressive. And my mom is the total opposite. I'm talking Tasmanian devil. And I love her dearly. But they were very different. And she made it known to him that she had the upper hand. So I had to pray that spirit off of me going into my marriage. I don't want to be, yeah, it's my way or the highway. But what I wanted was I wanted a spouse to say, listen here, LHG, you here now with me. So here's how this is going to work. That's what I wanted, y'all. Is that crazy?
No.
I
Mm-mm.
wanted him to say, I am your husband. I got this.
Mhm.
We're going to talk these things through.
Mhm.
But I need you to back down.
Mhm.
I'm right here.
Mhm.
If he doesn't approach an aggressive woman like that and she starts to take that control seat, all she really want to know is that she can trust you.
Right.
If you showing up and you doing things and you making things happen and you being that king, as Brother David said, you being that king, she said, oh, you looking mighty kingly tonight, sir. I got some dessert for you. Cut out the
Mhm.
lights.
Turn
Like,
out
what
the lights.
you doing? And you ain't got no plan. You ain't got no structure. You waiting on her to make some decisions. But when she do it, she aggressive. When she do it, she controlling. Where's your plan, sir? Where's your plan? Where's the itinerary? Where we going? Where we going? I will follow you to the ends of the earth if you lead me according to where the Lord say we should go. But if you ain't got no itinerary, that plane ain't taking off out of the airport. Unless
Listen,
it knows where it's going. It's a planned destination. See, that this
listen.
it's a delicate balance, y'all. I'm telling y'all.
Go ahead,
My
Coco.
husband, my husband strive every day to make every day better. You
Come
know what I
on.
mean? And that's what he do. He get up every day. He come up with an idea and a game plan of
Come
what's
on.
gonna be what. What can I do to do this better? What can I do to say, okay, we gonna be able to have this? What can I do to
See?
prepare us for 2024? This is what he does.
Mm.
You know,
Yes.
and I sit back and I look. We sit down and we'll talk about his ideas, and then we put it together.
That's a
You got an
team.
idea? You got an idea? Let's make it work.
I
What we gonna
love
do?
that. I
And so
love
that's and then like I said, he's my biggest supporter. Anything I do, like I said, he'll go get a t-shirt made. He'll make a t-shirt about it and walk around and let everybody know what I got going on.
see. And you are
So
his biggest
yeah,
support. That's huge in marriage. You have to have an investment in each other's future. What you want to do, bruh? What's your dream? What's your aspiration? You over here making sad comments about what I'm doing. What you doing
But
for us?
LHG, I had somebody tell me, um, because I can be a little bit on the dominant side. They was like, I can't wear the dress. And I was like, you right.
Right.
Like, what can you say with that? It was
Okay.
it was a way of saying, all right, you are the feminine one, so you remain the feminine one, and I got this part.
I
I'm going
respect
to
that.
take care of this part. That's all I could do is
I
submit to
respect
it.
that.
And I'm like, oh, okay, I got you. I heard you loud and clear.
Mhm.
I
that's because see with Quinn, it come down to the point of her allowing herself to sit back and be the woman.
I feel that.
Okay, and
I feel
that's half of her issue. Like, not saying that she try to do manly things, y'all, so please don't get it twisted.
no.
But what I'm saying is when you got a person that's used to being dominant, they don't know how to sit back and just be the woman.
but is it a trust issue?
No, it's an
Is it?
independence. It's
No,
a
it's an independent thing.
Okay,
I've
see,
been on my
now
own
it's a
since
trust
I was
issue.
17. I'm still fighting this fly. He winning. I've been on my own since I was 17. So I always had to take care of me. And I always knew how.
Okay.
Or I went into survival mode to take care of me.
Okay.
So when someone steps in, it's like, mm, and I'm not one to ask. My thing is if you see a need, and if you saying this is what you want, just do.
I respect that too.
And that's the part, learning to accept the blessing,
Mm.
learning to accept it when it's coming my way and seeing that it's God and just being having that attitude
Oh.
of gratitude because we can miss our blessing because we don't know how to receive. And
Right.
that's
And that's
where
the issue with a lot of givers. Givers don't know how to receive.
exactly.
Right.
And that's my biggest
Right.
issue. A man can lose
But
his
she made a
power.
point. If you're invested in this and you're talking and you're spending time and you're having conversation and something comes up, a need comes up, me being who I am, I'm going to try to feel that need. That's just my nature.
Mhm.
You said that you need help with so and so and so and so, and I'm not really the best with the da 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 da. If that's my lane, oh, I got you. Come on, let's meet at the library, my favorite place, and I will
Mhm.
help you with that. If that's a natural inclination. But when
Mhm.
someone else doesn't do that, and you've talked to me about what I'm doing and what my needs might be, but you don't pay attention to that, I might feel like I'm not gonna
Right.
come out and ask you for nothing. I could not even ask my own husband for much. That's just not in my nature.
Right, and that's my biggest thing. But because even when it come to Coco, we have that relationship where we can ask each other.
Mhm.
But for me, it's still, and I have the mentality that if I have it and you share, I'm gonna give it regardless. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? You don't have to ask for it. I have that
Mhm.
mentality. Asking is not what I do. But once again, even if it's offered, learning to receive it,
Okay.
learning to say, okay, I know I need putting the pride down. Let me say it like that. Putting the pride down because for me, it's hard to say, okay, yes, I have this need. They're offering this. Um, all right, I'm gonna take it, but I can figure it out for myself.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? That's where my mentality goes back to. So now I'm learning through some tears, through some humility to
Okay.
say, thank you. I
So do
appreciate
you feel like let me ask this question. Is part of the reason why it's hard to accept it, do you feel as though, because you said pride, do you feel as if accepting it means you lost or you failed?
no,
No,
no.
for Quint,
I'm just
she feels like if she accepts it, it makes her less independent.
Hmm. Okay.
oh hush
And
Sinette.
that is her issue. And
Okay.
so just like when it comes to like showing affection
Mhm.
between people, if
Mhm.
you hug Quit, that's a vulnerability spot for her. She don't like hugging people.
Okay.
She that does something to her. It'll literally make her cringe. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
so like she really has to be
Well, you got to figure that out
not say
first. You better
not
fix
say
that
have
now.
her guard down. I'm not gonna say that she has to have her guard down, but you gotta be somebody that she kind of feel some kind of way towards to actually get a hug like that. You know what I
Wow.
mean? I
Okay.
promise you, if you ever get a chance to witness it, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
And she's not the only
So
person that I am acquainted with like that. And at first, I thought it was awkward because I'm the opposite. I hug everybody. But if you don't feel comfortable or you feel a certain level of vulnerability that you don't want to feel, like you're not in control, is that a part of it?
No,
Like you got me in an embrace. Like, what is this?
no, no,
mm-mm.
no. Affection in my family was girls, let's go in this backyard with these boys. The
Oh,
girls wrestle the boys. You better not cry and you better win. And
oh,
or the older cousins on the 4th of July, we always went to Seaside Park. They got us dangling by our feet upside down. That's affection. Okay.
wow, wow.
So it was like you telling me you love my mom only said she loved me when she had some liquid courage. So it was like
Okay.
no. So I only hug and even nowadays I only hug certain people. When my children hug me, I cringe to this day. Don't ask why.
Oh, wow.
But my
Mhm,
grandchildren, on the other hand, are very affectionate. I can't walk out the door without getting a
mhm,
hug from Zai. And little best friend
mhm.
is just as bad. So I'm like, okay, I don't have a choice. But Sinette, stop telling all the secrets.
Okay,
But
but let's address what Troy said real quick. Troy
Mhm.
said a man can lose his power of being that king. Then he said, because he's stronger with the backbone of his queen.
All
But this
right.
this is the thing though. If you chose the right female, you'll never lose who you are as a king. She
Exactly.
gonna make sure that you don't lose that.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? And that's the one thing that I instill in um my husband every day. You are the king of your household. You are the king of
Hmm.
your household. So
Absolutely.
what you
Mhm.
say goes. If you say no, that's what it is. It ain't no ifs, ands, buts about it. Unless you know it's something that I was already doing before you came along, and this is a mission and a ministry. If you say no, it ain't happening. You know what
That's
I
great.
mean? And
Yeah.
so that's kind of like where you have to stop, and you have to stop and say, well, now I'm at a point where it's not just about me.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I know I was doing this before you, but at the same time, I have to now consider you because this is
Consider
not stuff that
that.
you're used to.
That's good.
You know what I mean? My
That.
husband is not used to ministry the way
Mhm.
I'm used to ministry,
Okay.
right? Because
Mhm.
he did not come up in church
Okay.
like that. You know what I mean? And then when he did go to a church, the stuff they did made him not want to have parts of the church.
Wow.
So to come in and to witness ministry in the way that he has now, he
Mhm.
sees it differently. But his eyes are wide open about ministry.
Okay.
He's since he's been here, he's been able to see ministries that he don't want to touch because he know they're full of crap. And
Yep.
then he's been in ministries where he can say, okay, I know you know the Lord, so let's have a conversation.
Right.
Hmm.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And there's a big difference. But at the same time, he can sit back and say, okay, I know my wife know who God is.
Right.
And she don't play when it comes down to that part of who she is.
I know that.
Right.
I don't force who God is on him because even I don't care, even in marriage, you have to allow that person to still get to know God on their own.
Woo
Absolutely.
wee.
Does he know
Or
this?
not.
Does he know who he is? Yes,
Yep.
he
Woo
does. Yes, he
woo
does. My
wee.
husband ain't got no title, but you can best and trust and believe if he opened his mouth, you better believe what he said.
I know
But
that's
there's truth to that. When you
Right.
have somebody who it's crazy how you can have someone like your husband that might not have been brought up in it like that, but then somebody else can have someone brought up in it but has no fruit.
No fruit.
Just going through the motions, just going through the traditions, just going to go.
right.
But you coming
Right.
home a whole hellion.
And yep. And
That's
true.
frustrating.
The one thing I love about Lance is how he covers Coco. When I tell you, when me and Coco first started hanging out, Lance went everywhere with us.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere. Then when he got to know me and my character,
Mm-hmm.
he said, "Okay, Coco, go ahead." And he put a tracker on her. And I wasn't even bothered by that because it was like, okay, something happened to us. He know where we at. That was my mentality. But I also know the love that he possessed for her, and it wasn't a control thing. Then he would be like, "Oh, Cuckoo coming? I ain't going nowhere." And then we would just go, and
Mm-hmm.
that's till this day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, the trust is there. When I say that man adores her and covers her and prays for
Mm-hmm.
her, it's awesome.
That's
And
so
like you said,
important.
when he opens his mouth, you have no choice but to listen because he don't open his mouth often. So when he open it, you got to hear what he's saying because some wisdom is coming out, and you know it's going to be of God because it always happens. So that's a blessing in itself.
Mm,
And Troy said, woman carry the power of being a queen to a king. She can build him up, make him stronger, or send him into
mhm.
the streets with directions of just searching. And he
That's
said,
powerful.
that is.
That's
Yeah, I,
powerful.
I truly believe that us as women, we do have the power to build a man up or tear him
Yep,
apart.
yep,
Mhm.
I agree with that. I agree with
And
that.
the reason being is because of the fact that if you as a woman came up in a family where that's what y'all did, y'all tear the guys apart. You tell them they not this, you won't never be that. You good
Mhm,
for nothing. You just like your daddy. You gonna be like all your uncles.
mhm.
All of that type of foolishness. If
Yep.
you don't never say, listen, you can be who you want to be.
Mhm.
What ideas do you have? What is it that you see for yourself? What is it
Exactly.
that you would like to do? And let's make that happen. You will
Mhm.
not be another statistic.
That's right. That's right.
But you know what I
You
found though, in as much building as a woman can do, if he has been broken by his mother,
Mm.
yeah,
it's harder.
yeah,
Mhm.
It's so much harder. You can tell that man, show that man, pray over that man, do a whole tent revival in the middle of your bedroom for 30 days and 45 nights. But if that man has been broken by his mama,
He don't
yeah,
trust women.
it's a pain.
Mhm.
It's a, it takes I don't man, God
Mhm.
himself.
Yep.
God himself.
Mhm.
Because you can tell him till you blue in the face that he's a king, that you love him. You can cook him breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and
Mhm.
by his late the favorite things he likes.
Mhm.
There's something about when there's been a disconnect with that man's mama, the person who's supposed
yeah,
to protect,
Yep.
love, nurture, teach. When that's not there, oh man, that thing is tough.
Mhm.
Well, I can say this. I will say this that I will say that there are some thin lines that I say that. The reason why I say that is because I wish, um, like Quinn said, my husband is very humble. He don't like to be in the limelight kind of thing. And I
Okay.
pray that one day he has no issue with telling his story. So
Wow.
my husband never really um had a sense of like family, right? His mom had issues with his dad passed away, mom is now
Mm,
gone. I never
okay.
but if I could have, I would have thanked her because she has a awesome son. Now at
Wow.
the end of the day, his sister raised him. And so
Mm,
when I talk to his sister, I tell her thank you for raising
mm,
him up the way she did.
that's
Because in what
beautiful.
she did instill in him as a man, he I mean,
Mm,
he's a man of all men. That's all I can really say. At the end of the day, without having been taught any of the things that a man should have been taught, he learned it on his
mhm,
own and he is great at it. When it comes
mm,
down to be a
wow.
husband, when it comes down to being a father, he's great at it. And
Wow.
there's nothing else, there's no other takeaways that I could get. But the one thing I can say is this: he is one of those that said that whenever he became grown and he started having his own family, that he would never
Mhm.
do to his family what was done to him, and he has kept that.
Ooh, ooh, my God, my God.
And that's
That is
important.
powerful. That is
Mm.
powerful. And when we embark upon these relationships, even going back to the dating, even when you were talking about certain things you like, don't like, when you get into relationships, you got to realize that we're coming into this with our own experiences.
Mhm.
Certain things can be triggers, certain things are just not comfortable. And if we're not having conversation around those things,
Yep.
instead of just saying, why is she like that? Why he like that? Talk,
That's important.
ask.
That's
Don't
important.
just we run away from some stuff that may just be doable if you understood their past a little bit. I ain't saying justify no the violence, nothing like that. But to
Mm-mm.
get to know a person and why they respond to
Mhm.
certain things in certain ways, it goes beyond just what you see. Where did they come from? What have they triumphed over in their lives that has
Mhm.
made them who they are today? Are you willing to even listen? Some
Right.
people are so into the physical, they
Mhm.
don't care about nothing else.
But that's the thing. Do you understand that you're worth the wait? The physical would mean so much more.
So
If you
much more.
got to know each other, you fell in love with the mind, you fell in
Mhm.
love with the emotional part, you fell in love with the
Yes.
intellectual part. You
Yes.
really built a friendship. And
Yes.
then you understood each other. You understood where everybody comes from. You understood why I do things this way and why it's hard for me to accept it. And you remain consistent until
Wow.
you allow that person to become vulnerable enough to trust you
Yeah.
100%, knowing that you got my back. I got your back. We're going to protect each other. We're going to support each other. We're going to love on each
Mhm.
other. And it's going to be us against the world. Like it's
Mhm.
always going to be peace between us. And I'm not saying that you won't never have an issue, but you'll be
Mhm.
able to communicate when the
Who's
issue
the issue?
arises.
Right.
So it won't be a bunch of chaos. That's the
Let's
part.
talk about that for a minute. You said friendship. A
Mhm.
lot of us date and don't really allow an organic friendship to even exist because we jump so deep into the physical and we get obsessed. If you say the person is your friend, some stuff y'all doing to each other, a friend shouldn't even do.
Exactly.
Listen,
Some stuff we out here doing. Ooh, baby, you my friend and you acting like that towards me. You wasn't never my friend.
Mm-mm. At all.
We're not building solid friendships, or we're not paying attention to the fact that some people don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
They're so
right?
wounded and broken that they're not even ready to stand up in a friendship, less known a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It don't get better because you marry them. You
That
gotta
part.
watch how they move before.
Mm-hmm.
If they ain't moving right before, and you, oh, that's okay. Once we get down the aisle, have a little wedding cake, they'll turn out right.
Mm-mm.
I'm here
No,
to tell you it didn't happen.
it's not. It's never gonna happen. That
No.
friendship is the most important part of your relationship.
Wow.
Having them conversations on the phone, you know,
Yes.
finding out, okay, what have you gone through? What
Yes.
how can I assist you in achieving
Yes.
your goals
Come
as a
on.
friend? How can I support you? What what is your need? What do you want to do? Long term, short
Mhm.
term? Do you even want to get married? Do you, I mean, be real, have a
Yeah.
real conversation. And that's not going to be one conversation. It takes several
It takes
conversations.
several
Y'all
in
should be,
different situations and
do you
settings.
even enjoy each other?
Come
Let's go
on.
there. What do
Come
you
on.
like to
Right?
do for fun? You know,
Come on.
it don't always have to be money. Do you like to walk? Do you, what do you really like? What
Yes.
triggers you?
Yeah.
I want to see
Yeah.
all sides of you. If I'm your friend and you get angry, am I able to bring you down? Or are you going to hurt me if I stand in front of you because you
Mhm.
just seeing rage?
Come on.
That's a
Right?
problem, especially if you're talking about
Come on.
building together.
And
Because
don't be mad when says
what you say?
your friend should be able to suggest that you need a therapist. Your friend should be able to say, sweetheart, you need therapy. And
Exactly.
you shouldn't get mad
That part.
because your
Right.
friend has been around you so much and they recognize your triggers. They
Mhm.
recognize certain looks that you have right before you go in a rage. I know the look.
Mhm.
I've seen the look, and I'll be
Mhm.
like, that's not healthy. You
Right.
need help. You
Mhm.
know, you're going to get arrested.
Mhm.
You're going to get hurt. You're going to cause me to get hurt.
Mhm.
That's not normal.
Mhm.
And you should not be offended by that. When someone
Exactly.
that close to you that knows your behaviors,
Mhm.
come on. Everybody can't be crazy. Everybody done told you something wrong with you.
Mhm.
And you still will not allow the Lord to heal you.
Hmm.
Because that takes vulnerability too, saying, God, here I am. Here I
Yes,
am
it
as a
does.
broken vessel. That part. And you won't sit on somebody's couch
Mhm.
because you too shame.
Right.
Well, and
That's
sometimes it's
you're not
not
ready.
because they too shamed. Sometimes it's because they done became too comfortable being the victim.
Mhm. That's true too.
Wow. That's true too, sis. Ooh wee. Wow. Wow. But we are wreaking havoc on others when we decide to get into these relationships so torn up, and we're deflecting and we're projecting all of this stuff on another person, expecting them to be able to fix it or to be able to understand it. And some of it they can't.
Right.
They're not even built to. Much of this stuff only God can fix.
Mhm.
And God giving someone who has the wisdom to help you maneuver through the trauma, to help you triumph over some of this trauma. Man, you don't see a lot of stuff and sometimes until you get into a marriage. I've learned a lot about me. I ain't perfect either. My trauma stood up strong concerning my mother when I got married.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, our trauma stood up in front of each other and had a tug of war. Trauma can recognize trauma. And it was toxic. And I lost a lot. I am going to have to rediscover me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
Mhm.
I can do that.
Yes, you can.
That's
I can do
okay.
that. And I will. And I will.
Because you know
And
what's gonna happen and rediscovering you, you're gonna find out who you were,
wow.
what happened in the middle, and now who you are.
That's
Wow.
right. That's
Wow.
right. And while you was talking, a lot of times the reason we can't help each other with the trauma as friends is because, especially male and female relationship, we jump in body first.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you didn't get to know that part that's hurting. You
Yeah.
didn't get to know that part that was traumatized.
Yeah.
You got to know the body and you felt like it was love and it wasn't.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Then get the real person. You got what you wanted. So the and you thought it was intimacy, but it really wasn't. Intimacy is us
No.
having a conversation.
A
Intimacy is
conversation.
us walking in the park and talking.
Mhm.
Intimacy is us holding hands and having dinner and talking. Like,
Yeah.
get to know the true person.
Yes.
Person.
That's it.
And I can honestly say, like,
It.
I have literally married my best friend. Why? Because when we got together, he was not even in my state. So our conversations were real
Wow.
conversations all the time, all day long, from in the middle of all his jobs,
Wow.
because he had so many jobs when we got together. I didn't know where he had the time in the day, kind of situation. And so, but in between, literally in between every job, every time he caught a break, he would call me. And so,
Wow.
like, it's just one of those situations. And then even I knew he was dead tired when he got home at night. but he would take his shower and sit down and talk to me until he fell asleep. That
Wow.
every time we had video chat at the end of the night, he would fall asleep and I would have to say, babe, I need you to go to bed because you sleep. And he'd be like, no, I'm not. And yes, he was. You know what I mean?
So
I mean,
sweet.
so but it would be so funny because he would try to wake up and just restart the conversation. But
Mm-hmm.
even with all of that, I can honestly say, like, at the end of the day, we can sit down and have a conversation because he's a homebody. He don't like to go out like that. That's not really his thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't have to spend money to enjoy each other
Come
kind
on.
of situation. And
Come
his
on.
enjoyment is okay, we finna get in the kitchen. What would you like to eat today? Kind of
See,
situation.
see,
you know
it's
and
the
that's
family.
what we'll do when he likes to do stuff like that. There's nothing that I can say besides let him be who he wants to be,
Absolutely.
And we're
and
worthy
I
of
let him do it.
like that. We're worthy, ladies and brothers, you're worthy too, of having someone in your life that's willing to be creative
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to spending time with you and doing different things.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like sometimes people we go so hard for the physical aspect of companionship, even in dating. And I know the flesh can get weak. I understand that. But you don't even know these people. You literally do not know these people to be getting up under covers with these people.
Right. And you
And
just creating soul ties.
come on, and for a woman, I can speak for me being a woman, it's a tie immediately. You
Mm-hmm.
can act like you ain't getting all in, but trust me, when you get to that point, you have become tied to that person. And
Mm-hmm.
all that comes with them that you don't even know nothing about.
Right.
You wonder why you're sick and you wonder why your head hurt and you wonder why you're feeling a certain way. You
Mm-hmm.
tied to stuff, you tied to people and spirits you don't even understand.
Mm-hmm.
It,
Absolutely.
it's worth waiting. It's worth telling yourself first that you're
Mm-hmm.
worth it. If you
That's
start telling you that, the other people will figure it out. I think you got to first tell you that you're
absolutely.
worth it. Tell yourself that. Convince yourself to never settle.
And then you ask the person, are you willing to wait?
Are
If they're
you
not
ready?
willing to wait for you,
Come
you
on.
don't lay your standard down because they
That,
didn't want to wait. Maybe they weren't the one.
that's right. And be okay with that.
Exactly.
Somebody out there just ain't the one. A whole bunch of somebody's out there just ain't the one.
Absolutely.
And that's okay to
Hmm.
follow God's process to be found by the right one.
That's right.
I took control because I felt my biological clock ticking. And let me preface it with this. I will always have love for my husband, but I also recognize that I was not patient.
Right.
I saw 40 riding up on me and I made some moves and not necessarily waiting on God.
Hmm.
Sometimes you can have the right person at the wrong time.
Right.
Sometimes it could be the right individual, but they're just not ready at that moment.
Hmm.
And when you come out of God's timing, it's
Hmm.
probably worse than having the wrong person.
That's
They're
right.
not in that matured state. And maybe you're not in that matured state. Right people, wrong time.
That's right.
I want to be content, happy, enjoy life. My necklace says, live the life you love. I want to do that in my singleness.
Hmm.
I want to experience traveling. I want to experience unspeakable joy by myself
Hmm.
first. I don't want to attach another person to all of my joy. That's a me
Hmm.
and God thing. He has to be the center of my joy.
That's right.
If another person is the only thing that can bring you joy, it's a dangerous place. They
Hmm.
may help with that area, but if you're depending on another person or their actions to bring you joy and not God, That's doom and gloom right there.
That's right.
I want to recommit myself even on my Christian walk. Because some people we attach ourselves to pull us away from it.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't invested like you.
Mm-hmm.
And because you attach to them, you start backing up and
Mm,
backing up and backing up. And then you can't even find your armor no more.
that's right.
You out here like a renegade. And you
Mm,
wonder why every dart is penetrating your body.
yep.
You out here exposed. I want
Mm-hmm.
someone that understands the significance of a walk with Christ,
Mm-hmm.
the significance of studying the word. I want to study with him. I want to worship with him. And I'm not just talking about shouting when the organ goes C flat either. It's more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to be able to live a life that is a demonstration of God's glory in our lives.
That's right.
All right, Mr. Davis, you bringing the heat this evening.
The king will always wait for his queen. Women and men forgets who has the power. That's what accepted these days. That's what
Mhm.
accepted these days. A king and queen studies together under God's
Yes,
law
that's what I'm
and wait
talking
for
about,
it.
Brother Davis.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm looking forward to. Once I rediscover me, get my footing, rebuild, restore, rejuvenate, all the good rereads,
Rereads.
all the good rereads, build myself up,
Reset, revive, and
all of that,
reload.
all of
Yes.
that,
Yes.
all of that, all of that.
Absolutely. Look, we're gonna have a part two to this because I
We
want
need
to
a
hear
part two
from
to that.
some men. I'm
Brother
waiting.
Davis, where you at?
Right. We might have to have Brother Davis up here too. I'm waiting on Avery also to get back to me. Hopefully maybe Saturday if all goes well. I will let y'all know we might do a part two worth the wait. Um and yeah, we'll go from there. But before we close out, Coco,
Yes.
do you have anything for the people's Cocos?
I mean, the only thing I can say is just going along with the topic that was chosen tonight is one, there's nothing wrong with you being selective of your partner. Reason why is you do not want to be yoked up with somebody that you are not equally yoked with,
Ooh, we.
because it's going to cause issues in the relationship from the jump. We
Yes,
wonder why we have problems in the relationship and we see all these red flags. Why? Because that was never your person to begin with.
never.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when you date, you're supposed to be dating with intention.
Absolutely.
And so the whole question is, what is your intention?
Mm.
And if your intention is sex, that's not dating. Just say that you friends with benefit
That
and
part.
call it a day. It'll make it a whole lot easier for everybody's life, and that's just what you say that you want. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and like I tell y'all all the time, if that's what you're looking for, you don't always have to have a person for that. They got things with batteries. Use them because they won't get on your nerves.
Huh.
Won't
Come
get
on.
on your nerves, and the thing with batteries, don't create a soul tie.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
God.
so at the end of the day, I mean, it's funny, yes, but I'm serious. At the end of the day, that you every time you lay down with somebody, you
Mm-hmm.
are creating a soul
That
tie.
part.
Exactly.
Ooh.
And you have to understand what you are now tying yourself to.
Mm-hmm.
You have tied yourself to every person they were physically with before you.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
You
we.
don't know how many people that was.
Not at all.
No,
And
no.
and for you to just jump in bed with everything you see is a problem.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
My
And
Lord.
so, like, you can't do that. You have to be more valuable of yourself and value you more to say, I'm not going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I can see where this is headed, and I'm not going to do this. You
That's
know,
right.
that's the reason why, I think that a lot of people, especially now, you got ladies that want to act like dudes because, some dudes feel like, oh, well, I could just go sleep with anything. And now you
Mhm.
got females that feel the same way. No, boo
Wow.
boo.
Yeah.
No, boo boo. First of all, you got to understand that the man carries the seed.
Mm-hmm.
We are the person that brings life. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have it backwards. They feel like the man gives life. No, the man carries the seed.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm,
are the ones that give life. So, because you are the ones that give life, a woman is always open. We
mhm.
are already spiritual because we are spirits. But you got
Mm-hmm.
to understand that as a woman, you are always open.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So,
right.
you're a gate walking around all the time.
Jesus.
And you can't let everybody in your gate.
No.
You can't let everything in your gate.
That's right.
And
My God.
even as a man, where your entity comes in, at the end of the day, that's the reason why a man guards his heart so much.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
He will not let every woman in his heart,
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
That's true.
as he shouldn't. Because
Mm-hmm.
right.
if he allowed everything that he came into contact with to be a part of his heart, he would have been broken 300 times before you
Hmm.
Yes.
because of what he chose to lay down with.
My God.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just have to value you more than what you do. Just understand what you really, really carry. Men, y'all carry the seeds that help us in turn give life to what you have sown.
Mm, that's powerful.
And
That
so
is.
you have to understand it's not just your words that you sow. The seeds
Mm,
that you sow, that you bring to a woman, are very important. And it's
Mm-hmm.
the same thing for the life that she gives to whatever it is that she's bringing into this world.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my takeaway for you guys. And I just want y'all to love on y'all.
mhm.
Mm. That's it. All right, LHG.
At my church I grew up in, my pastor would always say this, and I didn't really understand it then, but he would say, waiting time is not wasting time. It's okay to wait. You're worth the wait. You can still be busy while you're waiting. If you're seeking to be salt, you can be busy while you're in that place.
That's right.
It's really a beautiful thing to become aware of who you are and sit back and enjoy the fullness of who God made you. This rediscovery place in my life, although it may not seem as though um, it's going to work, it will. It will. Because for one, I acknowledged the fact that I was not obedient to God. I acknowledged the fact that I took matters in my own hands and did not diligently seek Him. I don't have to be better, but I will be better. And life continues, growth continues. I am going to enjoy me and get to a place where I don't settle for anything less than God's best. And
Mm-hmm.
when you know who you are and your worth, you won't settle. That same little girl that was bullied at 8, 9 years old for being obese and felt ugly and worthless, I allowed her to mature. I told her, we're good. We're okay. I'm doing the work. I get the therapy. I know what my triggers are. I'm loving myself more and more every day. I don't need to be attached to nobody to feel good. And I am grateful for this topic. I look forward to you continuing this topic, sister. It is near and dear to my heart because life is changing
Mhm.
and my waiting period is beginning again. And I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
I'm okay
Absolutely.
with that. Waiting time is not wasting time.
That's
So
right.
thank you. Thank you for this, sister.
You are so welcome. I'm gonna say that I truly believe that God is shifting some things in our favor. He's
Mhm.
turning things around for us. Um, your waiting time is not going to be a long time.
Mm.
And because, as the prophet said, you've been single for a long time, you just didn't
Yeah.
know. And
Amen.
I've been there where I was married, living single.
Mhm.
And I know the hurt that it causes.
Yeah.
I also understand the buildup.
Mm. Wow.
When you get built up, you will become so much better, so much wiser.
Mhm.
And it's a blessing that you're able to build yourself up. You're able
Yes.
to seek wise counsel. You're able to reset,
Mhm.
revive, relive.
Yes.
Listen, and it's going to be 110% better.
Glory
And
to
then
God.
you're able to recognize when the Lord sends the right one your way.
Yes.
And it's hard.
Mhm.
And you be like, this is like for real? This is surreal. Like, oh my. But
Mhm.
it's a blessing to
Yes.
be able to accept the blessing.
Yes.
Even in the midst of chaos, seeing the blessing in the midst of the chaos, knowing
Yeah.
that God still has his hand on you,
Yes.
regardless of what the enemy is saying, regardless of how people slander your name, regardless, God is still in control
Yes,
and he
he
knows exactly what we need in this season, and
is.
he's doing it expeditiously. I don't even want to say I didn't want to recognize.
Mm-hmm.
It was a scary feeling.
Mm.
And now I'm learning
Okay.
to expect the unexpected.
Mm.
Because when
Wow.
you pray for God to do something expeditiously, it comes suddenly.
Wow.
And it sits and it pursues and it overtakes you. It overtakes you when you least expect it. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, the wait is worth waiting for. The wait
Yes.
is not in vain.
Yes.
So watch God because when he comes
Mm-hmm.
and you're keeping busy, because
Oh
I
yeah.
just keep him busy,
Keep him
minding
busy.
your business,
Yes, honey. Yes.
and God shows
Yes.
up and you like, oh my. But remember to stay humble and see God in every situation.
Amen.
No matter how it comes, see God in the situation.
My God.
So I thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for
I
having me.
really appreciate you being up here. I did not know Coco had an emergency until last minute. And I was like, this is nobody but God because
I
gave me this
enjoyed it.
topic last minute. And that's when I reached out. And I was like, oh my God, Coco didn't even know about the topic.
No.
So yeah, we're definitely worth waiting for. And as Mr. Davis
Yes.
said, we are all queens. And our
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Coco got her king, but ours is coming real, real
Yes.
soon.
But let me say that too before we end night. just like men, just like some women do not tell the men who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Some men have to reiterate to a woman that she's a queen
That's true.
because she may not have been treated as such
That's
coming up
good.
in life.
Right.
She may have been dogged out. She may have
Mm-hmm.
been labeled some of everything besides that. So
Yeah.
just like we have to reiterate to the man that he's king, we got to do the same thing with the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That's good. Good stuff.
All righty. So we're gonna end this on tonight because I gotta be to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I thank y'all once again. Prayerfully Saturday we will be back up here doing a pop-up and hopefully, prayerfully, a part two to this topic.
Amen.
Amen. So talk
Amen.
later. Good
Good
night.
night, y'all.
Love y'all.
Love y'all.
That was good.